A double-barreled detective story by Mark Twain, Part 2, Chapter 4, the second part, and I'll continue from where I stopped the last time after Sherlock Holmes was captured by a gang. "Come to a vote, man!" This from one of the Darley gang, Shadbelly Higgins. "Quick, is it hang or shoot?" "Neither," shouted one of his comrades. "He'll be alive again in a week. Burning's the only permanency for him." The gangs from all the outlying camps burst out in a thunder crash of approval, and went struggling and surging toward the prisoner, and closed around him, shouting, "Fire! Fire's the ticket!" They dragged him to the horse-post, backed him against it, chained him to it, and piled wood and pine cones around him waist deep. Still, the strong face did not blench, and still the scornful smile played about the thin lips. "A match! Fetch a match!" Shadbelly struck it, shaded it with his hand, stooped, and held it under a pine cone. A deep silence fell upon the mob. The cone caught. A tiny flame flickered about it a moment or two. I seemed to catch the sound of distant hoofs. It grew more distinct, still more and more distinct, more and more definite, but the absorbed crowd did not appear to notice it. The match went out. The man struck another, stooped, and again the flame rose. This time it took hold and began to spread. Here and there men turned away their faces. The executioner stood with the charred match in his fingers, watching his work. The hoof-beats turned the projecting crag, and now they came thundering down upon us. Almost the next moment there was a shout, "The sheriff!" And straightway he came, tearing into the midst, stood his horse almost on his hind feet, and said, "Fall back, you gutter snipes!" He was obeyed by all but their leader. He stood his ground, and his hand went to his revolver. The sheriff covered him promptly and said, "Drop your hand, you parlor desperado! Kick the fire away! Now unchain the stranger!" The parlor desperado obeyed. Then the sheriff made a speech, sitting his horse at martial ease, and not warming his words with any touch of fire, but delivering them in a measured and deliberate way, and in a tone which harmonized with their character and made them impressively disrespectful. "You're a nice lot, now ain't you? Just about eligible to travel with this bilk here, Shadbelly Higgins, this loud-mouthed sneak that shoots people in the back and calls himself a desperado. If there's anything I do particularly despise, it's a lynching mob. I've never seen one that had a man in it. It has to tally up 100 against 1 before it can pump up pluck enough to tackle a sick tailor. It's made up of cowards, and so is the community that breeds it, and 99 times out of 100 the sheriff's another one." He paused, apparently to turn that last idea over in his mind and taste the juice of it. Then he went on. "The sheriff that lets a mob take a prisoner away from him is the lowest down coward there is. By the statistics, there was 182 of them drawing sneak pay in America last year. By the way, it's going pretty soon there'll be a new disease in the doctor book's sheriff complaint." That idea pleased him. Anyone could see it. "People will say, 'Sheriff sick again?' Yes, got the same old thing. And next, there'll be a new title. People won't say he's running for sheriff of Rapao County, for instance. They'll say he's running for coward of Rapao. Lord, the idea of a grown-up person being afraid of a lynch mob. He turned an eye on the captive and said, "Stranger, who are you, and what have you been doing?" "My name is Sherlock Holmes, and I have not been doing anything." It was wonderful, the impression which the sound of that name made on the sheriff, notwithstanding he must have composed it. He spoke up with feeling, and said it was a blot on the country that a man whose marvelous exploits had filled the world with their fame and their ingenuity, and whose histories of them had won every reader's heart by the brilliancy and charm of their literary setting, should be visited under the stars and stripes by an outrage like this. He apologized in the name of the whole nation, and made Holmes a most handsome bow, and told Constable Harris to see him to his quarters, and hold himself personally responsible if he was molested again. Then he turned to the mob and said, "Hunt your holes, you scum!" which they did. Then he said, "Follow me, Shatbelly. I'll take care of your case myself. No, keep your pop gun. Whenever I see the day that I'll be afraid to have you behind me with that thing, it'll be time for me to join last year's 182. And he rode off in a walk, Shatbelly following. When we were on our way back to our cabin, toward breakfast time, we ran upon the news that Fetlock Jones had escaped from his lockup in the night and is gone. Nobody is sorry. Let his uncle track him out if he likes. It is in his line. The camp is not interested. So, that was chapter 4. Bye-bye. Till next time with chapter 5.